Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Successful Living Mindset. And today we're going to talk about how to achieve breakthroughs that are going to help you break with unhealthy patterns in your life. We hear so many things to do lately about practice breathing exercises, practice journaling, go exercise, eat healthy, do so many other things that, you know what, they're extremely helpful. I will never be in the position to say to you not to do those things because guess what? They are extremely helpful. But when it comes to breaking with unhealthy patterns, sometimes these are not enough. And they're not enough depending on the way that you engage in these activities and the intention behind it. Because typically what I've seen lately is that people get so overwhelmed, so they practice in breathing exercises to self-soothe, which is great. It's amazing that we're doing that. Or sometimes they go and journal everything that went wrong or everything that they're celebrating in their day, which is also great. Yet if you're noticing unhealthy patterns repeat over and over and over, whereas as in relationships, in your career, in your personal life, then guess what? That's when these activities are just not going to be enough on their own. And actually, we can use these activities and incorporate them and create a balance between this other activities that I'm going to be talking about because it's typically what it's missing. And the piece that it's missing is doing that inner work, is that reflection part, is the time where we intentionally make an agreement with our bodies and our emotions to sit down and communicate. That's where magic happens. Because guess what? Emotions carry in an important message. And even though sometimes that message may not necessarily be telling the truth about ourselves, but they're still telling a truth about the way that we perceive life. That it could be irrational in itself. Absolutely. So, what is it that I'm talking about? How do you know whether if your behaviors are rooted into the things that you think they are rooted or there's something deeper than that? How do you know, for example, because I've seen this in many clients, that their self-worth is completely dependent on others' approval because they actually do not see themselves as worthy? And to say the words that I have a low self-esteem or I don't think I'm worthy enough is so heavy for many. So guess what? You use a different rhetoric, we use a different message, and we may say things in a different way, just not to feel that that's the perception that we have about ourselves. However, our actions and our patterns say way more. They say much more about our reality, about what's really happening deep down. Let's think, for example, if take a look at your relationships. Are these rooted in unhealthy patterns where you have toxic people around you? When you find yourself people pleasing all the time? When you set some boundaries, but people do not respect them? Or when it's difficult for you to say no? And even when you have those boundaries in place, it's difficult to reinforce those boundaries because this is a challenge that many people face. So, what does that say about you? We rarely take the time to sit down because it's hard work. And guess what? When we don't do that type of work, it's very unlikely for rooted beliefs to change doing the other things. So, although spending time in all of those activities that I mentioned before is extremely helpful, it's never going to be enough. If you're ready to do deep work to change beliefs, to change your life and unhealthy patterns, then you want to look for those breakthroughs. And those come when you increase the communication with yourself and you actually get to know your body and to know what's really underlying emotions that emerge. And not only happy emotions, but I'm talking about those emotions that we tend to avoid and run away from. Because guess what? We don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's okay. If you feel unworthy, if you feel perhaps fear of finding out what may come up about yourself, that it's something that those breathing exercises and that journaling can be extremely helpful in that process. But I wanted to add more. Dive into it knowing that it's okay. Be graceful with yourself. Be kindful and be compassionate, knowing that everybody has something to work on, including this person talking behind this mic, and it's perfectly fine. Because guess what? That is you practicing that self love, which is going to translate into self worth, translate into happiness, is going to translate into so many beautiful, amazing things in your life. But we have to make peace with this process. The same time that we like to arrange everything and we time manage our time with our friends, with our families, with our careers, with our self care. It's like, how do we incorporate also time for us to reflect and to become the observer of those internal processes because it will reveal so much for you and about you. Because at the end, everything going on in our lives is part of it's part of our creation. We co-create. And when things happen, they don't happen to us, they happened for us. And this could be something difficult for people to swallow and to digest. Why? Because we don't want to feel that we are somehow contributing to things that we have identified or classified as our misery. But guess what? We are. And if this is difficult to process, bear with me. Just listen to this information and think about it. How many times have you felt that you may not have what it takes to actually accomplish a goal that you so much desire? But deep down, if you feel that you don't have what it takes, we may find excuses. We might find ourselves probably even getting sick. Like, have you taken the time to observe, like, every time that you get sick? I'm not saying that every time that you get sick is coming from a subconscious impulse, but you'd be surprised that many times it does. That because of something that you were working towards, all of a sudden you started to feel sick, or another situation happened to you in your life that got in the way, or you're feeling tired. So these aren't accidents. These are ways of our subconscious protecting us because it's experiencing an emotion that is in conflict with another thing that we're aiming for. And to dive into this level of realization, we have to start by taking the time to be okay in those emotions that we don't tend to like as much. So that's step number one. First, understand that this work, if how committed are you? How committed are you to really breaking patterns in your life? Because if you feel that you're not up to experiencing emotions that makes you feel it one way or another, then that's okay. Be graceful. Ask that question. And if it gets you thinking about, like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'd like to feel anxious. I'm not sure if I'd like to feel this certain way. Then keep self-soothing. Keep using those activities that will help you go through life. But if you're at a point that it doesn't matter how much I have to go through discomfort in my life at an emotional level, then guess what? Then this is the step for you. This message is for you. Commit, make that commitment. And I'm talking in a very broad way, but this is work that can be translated to any area of your life. Sit down and reflect, okay, what area of my life am I feeling stuck? Am I feeling unfulfilled? Am I feeling dissatisfied and wanting more? Is it in your relationships? Is it in your personal health? Is it in your spirituality? Is it with money in your career? Then ask that question. How committed am I? How much do I want to transform my life in this area? And once you get your response, then you make that commitment. And making that commitment will require from you time to reflect, to sit down, to by incorporating these other techniques that will help you self-soothe and cope with your emotions and your distress, to really observe wh- what are the things that you desire and what is getting in the way, right? Each time that you work towards a goal, that journey will reveal to you how do we subconsciously sabotage our process in getting those goals. So become the observer. Allow yourself to dream big, to make those goals and to act on them. And you'll see how much if you have made that commitment to break with unhealthy patterns, then you become the observer and see how much things starts to appear out of nowhere, challenges, things that will seem as if they're getting in your way in you and accomplishing what you desire most. So sit with those things for a moment. Sit and reflect. How were you feeling? What were you thinking? Who were you with? What were you saying to yourself? Asking questions such as, what was going well? How was I feeling? And then what happened? I remember once having a conversation with a client that was working towards a very healthy relationship as was something new for this person. And all of a sudden, this person, the partner, talked about potentially moving in together in the future. And they went to this mall and they went into this jewelry store. And this person just asked for a ring to see like how just like to look at them. And that triggered a huge argument. It triggered a huge argument between them because guess what? There was something deeper going on. And the person at first just did not make the connection between one or the other. But we were able to work through it and tag into the root of that argument. And for that person was, wait, hold on, we're moving too fast. This is too much. It's overwhelming. I'm not sure if because this person had commitment issues. But once we were able to dive deep and connect, and that person was willing to go through that distress of what it meant to live and commit to another person, then at that moment and in that place, that person was able to renew that belief. How long do I want to foster this belief that I don't want anyone to come into my life and get this close? And that's the power and the beauty of doing deeper work beyond doing maintenance, self-soothing. And I call maintenance because guess what? After we do this work, those techniques, breathing exercises, working out, eating healthy, journaling, practicing gratitude, that is the way that we will continue just to reinforce that decision to shift those beliefs that are getting in our way and trapping us in those unhealthy patterns. And it can be difficult for people to identify this. That's what I help my clients do because we all have blind spots. And it takes skill for us to identify those blind spots and read between the lines and see beyond just the self-talk and the rhetoric that we tend to have within ourselves that many times is coming from that subconscious place. So it can be difficult for us to spot. But this is what I do. This is what I help clients. So know that there's always help. There's always ways for you to break with patterns by doing the work, journaling, exploring, sitting with yourself, observing every interactions, every situations that emerges whenever you're working towards your goal, because this is typically when you're going to see them, when you're working towards your goals. By sitting with yourself, observing, reaching out for help for people that know how to identify those blind spots, it's what's going to make a difference in your life. So if you feel that this is something that is helpful for you to learn to hear more about it, reach out, leave me a comment. Feel free to share this with people that can also benefit because we all are here to help each other. That it's the my genuine belief in life that we're here to rise above survival, to understand the mysteries of our subconscious world that trap us so much in moments of struggles, suffering, distress, triggers. And you don't have to go through this by yourself. I appreciate you tuning in, listening, dedicating your time to hear this. And I am so thankful and grateful for you. I guess I'll see you. I hope I'll see you in the next time. Take care, and I send you a lot of love.